All right, welcome back, everybody. HSC Podcast 34. We got the Big Smooth joining us up top, Big Box Steve on the mic, and we are into week 5 of the NFL. So before we get started into our picks and recap, I want to just talk about how our weeks are going, our overall records, things like that. And I know you had talked a little bit about like Bleacher Report. You looked at that. You text some numbers on that. I looked up some ESPN numbers. Uh, it's kind of interesting. Like, what do you think about these guys, so-called experts, and their predictions? And have you been looking more into that?
Well, yeah, I look at a lot of them, and I think it's funny because, and it's not like we are, but a lot of them, I don't think pay attention to every team, and they kind of get their little snippet. I'm like, okay, this is what I think about this team, so I'm just going to go with this. And it's kind of interesting for me because they are supposed to be national, and they're all supposed to be actually their job, profession. But like they'll talk, and I'm like, no, that's not right about
Right.
some teams. It's like that's kind of like a narrative kind of a thing that might have been in the past, and they kind of get lazy and then just follow it. And I think that's what happens when some of these picks.
Yeah, like the Jets are just bad. I noticed that about them how they talk about the Jets. Like the Jets aren't that bad.
No.
They historically have had a rough time the last few years, but they've got some good rookies in place. Guys are developing. Their defense is solid. And I see that narrative too, especially with teams like that. Or like Detroit. Like Detroit's offense isn't good. Like they have one of the better offenses in the leagues as
Right. Their
far as
defense is bad.
statistically. Yeah, their defense is horrid. So
Well,
I
that's
noticed that too.
I notice also, being a Raider homer, I'm watching the game and it's halftime, and all they're talking about is how great Russell Wilson is. And Boomer Esiason's talking about how great he's doing against the Raiders when they're losing. And Phil Simms is like, well, that's because it's against the Raiders defense.
Right. And their defense hasn't been up to par, the last few years, but a
Yeah.
lot
And
better,
then,
right?
well, they're kind of Jekyll and Hyde, but what happened the second half of the game, besides one crazy bomb play that Russell, that they shut down the entire offense. And so it's kind of funny to me. It's like, okay, they did the same to the Chargers. Chargers went up big early, but then couldn't score in the second half. And they totally imploded against the Cardinals, but the first half they shut them out.
Right.
So it's not like they're a garbage defense. And they make it out because in the years past, the Broncos defense is one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Right.
They're so good. And that's been the narrative the last 3 years. Oh, all they need is a quarterback. Yeah. Who has Denver played this year?
They have not had a tough schedule at
They
all.
have the last place schedule again, just like last year. So maybe that's why your defense gets padded stats.
Yeah, and again, as you're saying, it's really falling into a narrative that they believe because Denver had a high level defense for a long time. It doesn't mean that lasts forever, and
Right.
you can't just base your sports casting to people, or your sports writing especially to people based on stuff that has definitely changed and updated and changed quite a bit. So Wes joining us, Fresh Wes joining. Welcome, Wes. Before we jump into recap, we were talking about is looking at some of this sportscaster, sports writer reports, like that Bleacher Report Derek sent over. I was looking at like ESPN analysts and how they're doing on their rankings and things like that. And it's not like we're killing them, but on average, I have a better record than most of them. There's one or two up there, but they've got 6, 7, 8 people making picks, and most of them are 500 or below.
Yeah.
And so one of the things Derek was talking about, which I think is a great valid point, which is they base it a lot off like historical stuff and not what's happening right now. They're not really up on the team, how they've changed or how they're progressing, and just little things like that. So I noticed that a lot with ESPN. ESPN picks are really like last year. for a lack of better way.
You mean last year or 5 years ago?
Or 5 years ago, almost. Yeah. But I mean, more so last year than 5 years, but it has that rollover, from years past.
It's like, you know what? Why are we watching football? Just like read the transcripts. It's just like a stupid debate where you get the teleprompter.
Right.
That's like, I got it down. It's like, who cares about watching the games? I'll just read the stats. Not. I'm not surprised. I mean, yeah, I saw those stats, and it is unpredictable. I get it. It's very hard to predict, especially the first 4 weeks of the season. Right. I mean, we're all just kind of guessing for the most part. But I think the next couple of weeks we'll start. You're already starting to see things, transpire to the point where you could tell that the teams that aren't going to be very good, they're probably not going to be very good.
And the teams that are rising above or need the teams that people didn't expect to play as well as they are playing, showing whether that was a fluke or whether they're going to continue to play well and be competitive.
Because the thing about tomorrow night's game, we're blessed to watch the Broncos again on national television, because you know why we have to watch him, because Russell Wilson.
Yeah, he's
because he's so great. That's why he's voted the most overrated, player in the NFL. And they sit there and hey, we could watch 5-yard passes, and we could watch them fail in the red zone like almost every time, like they do. Derek Carr last week doesn't even throw a touchdown.
Yeah. And
they still win. It's like, come on.
Well,
so we got to watch the Broncos again. Come on.
If the Raiders, and we'll get into this recap here in a second, if the Raiders could have actually put the ball in the end zone like they should have,
it would have been a blowout.
It would have been a blowout. Yeah. And so, but yeah, that again, and just for people watching and listening, look, don't go to Bleacher Report, don't go to ESPN, come right here, HSC Podcast. Like it on YouTube, subscribe, and get your picks here. Because let's talk about last week, and as we just said, week 4 is when it starts to take more of a shape. Derek goes 13-3. I went 13-3. Wes, you went 11-5. So those are all pretty good records, for our picks. And so that's the season starts to shaping, and it starts to make a little bit more sense. But that's the same thing. It's like Bleacher Report guys were still 9-7 last week, 8-8. I'm like, how do you go 8-8 last week?
Yeah.
Like, if you really watch and you really had been watching the season up to this point, you like 10-6, I could get it,
Yeah.
A couple games swung differently, but a 500 record last week, that's I don't really see how that's possible.
Well, maybe these guys are distracted. It is their job, and this is what they get paid to do. The money thing, who really cares about that, right?
Well, they do cover other sports too, so I guess they have a lot of different sports to cover. So we'll give them that. We'll give them that. They do college football, baseball, football, basketball coming, a lot of stuff. So recap week 3. Those were the statistics as far as our records. Talking about anything that kind of stuck out. There were a couple swing games that Cleveland, Atlanta. I thought that was a toss-up game, and I went Cleveland, and Derek went Atlanta. So that was a swing game for us back and forth. So there were games like that, though, that those are really hard to pick. I think that's anybody's game when you, especially.
I think people are looking past Atlanta. I picked Atlanta too, but Atlanta now. Cordell Patterson is hurt. That's the big thing. If he was healthy, I think they could do some damage, but he got hurt, so I think that really kind of hurts them now.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, definitely. He's a big part of their offense. Obviously statistically too, but not just that, it's the dynamic that he brings to the game. The ability to just, hit the holes. He can catch the ball, like he can do a lot of different things. So very, very dangerous guy. Any big surprises out there? I know we all had a pretty good record, so I don't think a lot of games surprised us.
For me, it was I just don't get it. It's like, why try and blitz Mahomes? It doesn't work.
Oh.
I mean, it's the same thing as you don't blitz Brady, right?
Oh,
and like Mahomes is you know who he looked pedestrian against this year was the Colts.
Right.
You know what kind of dumb offense the Colts run? It's cover 3. And what is the cover 3? It basically is, we're not giving you anything deep.
Yeah,
You
keep
have
everything
to,
in front of you.
Yeah. And it's the bend, don't break thing. And that's how you get Mahomes, is you make him have to drive down the field. You have to make Andy Reid run the ball. Because he hates running the ball.
Former
and
offensive
who's really
lineman.
running the ball at the end of the day? Clyde's Edward away.
Yeah, and I mean, no, instead they like, let's rush and then Mahomes is like, okay, fine, I'll juke and jive and duck my head and get out, and then
that was stupid. I was like, how does that happen? How does he do that? Like, that was kind of bizarre. That play, they keep showing it over and over. I'm like, come on.
But then it's like you leave Kelsey on man coverage.
Yeah. Or picking apart his own.
Yeah. And I just feel like it's okay. And that's why they just annihilated the Bucs, because the Bucs couldn't get back in the game, because it's like, oh, you're going to let us. The way the Chiefs win are big plays.
Yeah.
And that's what they did.
Like, if you get into a shootout with the Chiefs, it's going to be tough. They're going to score a lot of points if that's the kind of game you're playing with them. And obviously they showed that.
And if the Bucs aren't going to run the football, which they should run the football, because Fournette is a force running football. Mm-hmm. But at the same point, I think they're kind of trying to save him, because
they were down like by a lot early.
Yeah, you go down 20 points, you got to throw the ball.
Well,
that's tough.
That's true.
And so that was a tough one. I think I had Tampa. I had Kansas City winning that game, so that was another swing game that swung on my side. Just because I figured it'd be a shootout, and I thought Kansas City would win in the end. So that was wasn't a big surprise for me, but it was one of those games where I didn't really know. I wasn't really confident in Kansas City, but I had to go with what I thought. The pick.
Well, I wasn't surprised that they won. I was more surprised at how badly they beat them.
Yeah, because it was a domination. Even though it only ended up 10, it was worse the whole game.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one. I think San Francisco and the Rams, people were surprised by that. I wasn't super surprised, just because San Francisco's defense is so tough, and Stafford just has not looked great this year. He's doing good things with Kupp, obviously, but San Francisco definitely, their defense is just everywhere.
Well, the Rams' offensive line is decimated, and it's it's like he's allergic to Allen Robinson. He doesn't even look at Allen Robinson.
I think he's allergic to everybody but Cooper Kupp. It's kind of crazy. Would Kupp have another 12 receptions or something like that?
Yeah,
he got targeted 20 times. And it's just like, it's kind of predictable. So you get a pick 6. Because honestly, it's really predictable what he's doing. So
well, maybe now we're gonna, how like last year everyone was all on the Stafford bandwagon. They're like, oh, he was in Detroit. Da, 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 da. He had Calvin Johnson in Detroit.
Maybe they'll come back to reality with him,
and maybe they will realize that Stafford is a good quarterback, not a great quarterback,
right. Not a Hall of Famer.
No. They almost lost the Super Bowl because of him. It wasn't because he won the game.
They almost also lost the NFC Championship game. Right. Honestly, the 49ers, the Rams were still fortunate to win that game. Yeah. The 49ers, what you saw, their defense is solid.
Yeah.
Like, if they're gonna get to the Super Bowl, it ain't gonna be Jimmy Garoppolo so much. It's gonna be their defense. Deebo Samuel's ridiculous. Do that catch and run. He stays healthy, and Garoppolo plays and Shanahan actually calls some plays the right way. they're dangerous. They're gonna make a deep run in the playoffs. They're gonna be hard to beat.
Yeah, it comes down to how Garoppolo plays, and we've seen that play out year after year. So, it's probably a similar story for them, right? Make the playoffs, and now you just kind of hope, that Garoppolo holds up. So the last one, I just want to talk about before we get into week 5. Philadelphia, Jacksonville, right? So Jacksonville jumps on them early with a great, defensive play and score. But I think Philadelphia showed a lot about their team, because Jacksonville showed they're not bad, right? Jacksonville showed they're a good team, and to go up 14 and Philly to fight their way back, win that game. I think Philly showed a lot about what kind of team they are, that they deserve to be where they're at right now with their record. And wasn't 100% sold on them. I had them winning their division. I have them win their division, but I didn't know they're going to come out 4-0, and look as good as they do. So to me, that was a surprise game, not because I had Philly winning, but the way they won and the resilience they showed, and what kind of team they showed they were there was big. So that was another one there. Outside of that, I think a lot went kind of the way that we thought it was going to go. So Buffalo, Baltimore was a good game though. That was same thing. Buffalo, withstood a bunch of turnovers or just bad play, and fought their way back. And I think Baltimore took a big hit to their confidence in that game.
You're forgetting about the Seahawks. They're the best team in the NFL, right?
Yeah, right.
Super Bowl.
Geno Smith's the best quarterback.
No. Remember, today they did the tier 1, tier 2 quarterbacks, right? Tier 3, and Brady is not in tier 3. Geno Smith is.
Oh, awesome.
Brady's not good enough. Geno Smith is tier 3. Like, come on, really? I mean, he's playing well. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's always had ability.
He's
never been a question of him having. He reminds me of C.J. Stroud. He reminds me a lot of That's what C.J. Stroud is. But he just makes bad decisions. But he's making good decisions.
He's completing a lot of passes. There, I mean, at one point he had the lowest yards, per attempt, per completion. So he's throwing the ball short. He's throwing it safe. But that's why they can't beat a team like San Francisco. That's why. They beat Detroit, worst defense in the league, and you put a bunch of points, that's nothing. Don't talk about how great they are, and they beat the Broncos in game 1 in Seattle, where Denver hadn't at all gelled at all yet, and so great. Those are your 2 wins. You lost to Atlanta, and then you got killed by San Francisco, defensively. So I don't know that jumping on the Seahawks bandwagon is the right thing to do yet, because they got a lot of division games coming up, and that's going to hurt them.
Right. Yeah.
So let's jump into week 5 predictions here. There's a couple really good games this week, which I think we'll enjoy. But again, and this is probably when I'll have to, bite my tongue or, pull my foot out of my mouth, but it kind of seems like the week where I feel more confident in the picks. I feel like it's a little easier, not a little easier, but I'm not going back and forth as much as I did in the first 3 weeks, especially. But we'll see how it goes, right?
There's like three games that I'm kind of like, don't know where to go with.
Yeah, there's definitely a few of them out there. So let's start with Thursday night, of course. So Indianapolis at Denver. Go ahead, Derek, lead us off.
So Broncos are favored by 3. They're at home. I hate to say it, but it's going to be the Broncos. No Jonathan Taylor. So there you go. Colts lose because of that.
Yeah, that's tough. No Jonathan Taylor's tough. I just saw that the other day. So, Wes, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement there. I mean, Jonathan Taylor I saw is ruled out. That's enough for me to say that they're going to lose. I mean, the Colts are just struggling. They're not very good. Matt Ryan is a shell of himself. And it just pains me, to ever pick the Broncos because the only thing I've really liked from the Broncos is John Elway and the Orange Crush defense back in 1978. That was kind of cool. Tom Jackson was a badass.
I mean,
have you guys watched Tom Jackson play back in the day?
Yeah.
Tom Jackson wasn't very big, but he was a badass, dude. I mean, fun to watch. But besides that, lose. But the Colts are going to lose. So.
Yeah, and that was tough. So I think Nyheim Hines is a good running back, and he could definitely fill the role there. He actually brings a dimension a little better than Jonathan Taylor as far as catching the ball. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's a better runner, but I think it plays to Indy's advantage here. But I still don't think Indy wins the game. If it was in Indianapolis, I'd pick Indianapolis, but it's in Denver, and I think that gives Denver that slight edge. So I'm going to take Denver by a touchdown. So next one here, and that could be a game that bites us. I'm just saying.
I hope so.
The Giants at the Packers. Wes, what do you got? Giants at the Packers.
Man, of course, it's another one of these London games. It's actually, there's been 31.
Oh, yeah, this is a London game. So it's not at the Packers.
Oh, you heard the stat. 31 London games. This is the first game where you had two winning teams playing each other. 31. This is the first one. And the Giants, and I think they thought, okay, the Giants are going to suck. Right. So it's going to be, and of course, we all expect, come on, Packers, Aaron Rodgers. But you know what? I'm going to pick the Giants because of Saquon Barkley. Because I don't think that the Packers offense is really playing out well.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to have a big game. And I think they're going to squeak out a field goal. I think they're going to win by field goal. Nice. Because it's one of those games where I think the Packers earn it. It's reflection. Like, all right, are we going to be a Super Bowl team? Or are we going to do what we do every year and act, and we're just going to be, a really good team that doesn't play up to what our potential. It's one of these games, the London games are really weird because it's just a different thing. It's it's kind of unpredictable.
Yeah, it's outside of the normal time frames they're playing. They got travel. They have all that,
And I think the Giants play good defense. They'll play good enough defense to hold the Packers down enough where,
Yeah, and I think this game, Saquon does have another big game because he has to. He's all of their offense. And unfortunately, the Packers defense is good. And I'd really like to see the Packers lose. And I think Saquon will have a good game. The Giants will hang around. But in the end, Green Bay will win by a couple field goals, by 6. But it'll just be a couple field goals that they end up driving in, not scoring, and having to settle for field goals. And Giants just don't have enough on defense to hold them down. And you can't, and they're not going to score enough with just Saquon Barkley. So I'm going to take Packers by a couple field goals.
No. Yeah, this one was for Wes here. The Giants have the great scrambling rushing attack of Daniel Jones, who had
all of their offense against the Bears.
Yeah,
all their touchdowns.
6 rushes for 68 yards before he got hurt.
Yeah.
He would have probably had 100 yards rushing if he wouldn't have got hurt. But this is a tough one for me because it is in London. So it's like all bets are off. Like, look at the Vikings. Well, go in and you're like, the Saints don't have their starting quarterback, running back, top wide receiver. This game's over. And it goes down to a dink-dunk missed field goal by a kicker that usually would make that.
Right.
So it's so tough with these games, but it's hard. I'm going to be like the national guys. How can you go against the Packers? It's like Aaron Rodgers
versus who? Who's
Daniel Jones? But here's the thing:
Taylor.
is
Taylor's out?
Is he starting?
Daniel Jones is, I think, going to be back.
Oh, is he?
But it's a game of who are the wide receivers for either team. And it's sad to say, but the Packers have better ones.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm going with the Packers. 8 is a little high for me, though. I would say like 4.
Yeah. Now, if you're playing the point spread, it's probably best to take the Giants. But,
especially in London. Those games are so weird.
Right. Yeah. But still, I think Green Bay wins the game. So
the Packers almost lost to the Patriots with a 3rd-string quarterback in.
Right. Hey, Zap, he looked good.
Freaking Zap's all right.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. Pittsburgh at Buffalo. I have Buffalo. Pittsburgh, it just doesn't look good. Buffalo by 2 touchdowns in Buffalo. I think they're, obviously coming off of an emotional win against Baltimore, but Buffalo is just good, and Pittsburgh is just not. So I'm just taking Buffalo by 2 touchdowns.
So
what do you got?
So the Steelers, after winning the first week, have lost the last 3 games, right? They're going with Pickett now, who went and threw 2 interceptions in his first game back, first game out there. So Wes was right that Pickett was going to come in the second half, but
I was right. Hey, what? Oh, but he throws 3 interceptions.
Actually, 3 interceptions, right?
Oh, was it 3?
It's 3.
Oh, he had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he had 2. He ran for 2 touchdowns, right?
I was like, sweet, I'm right. Oh,
the first pass was a pick 6, wasn't it?
Oh man.
Now look at this. Okay, they play the Bills, then they play the Bucks, then the Dolphins, then the Eagles.
Yeah, they got
then the Saints, Bengals, Colts, Falcons, Ravens. Okay, now the Panthers, Raiders, Ravens, Browns. They might win only 1 more game this year.
Yeah. They should have waited and went for a quarterback this year.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah, the spread for this game is 14.
Oh wow.
I'm taking the Bills. I mean, I think they're still mad about the Dolphins game. So yeah, they're going to come out, and the Steelers without TJ Watt, that defense, I don't know why just one player makes that big of a difference.
Yeah.
And the Bills are just going to stifle the Steelers offense. So yeah, it's not going to be fun to watch. Well, kind of.
You're
I don't like the Steelers.
Yeah,
I don't like the Steelers, so it might be fun to watch.
You hate the Steelers? You love Buffalo? Like, it's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
That's what you got. Wes picking the Steelers?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm taking the Bills. I'm taking the points. I'm saying they're going to win by 3 touchdowns. Because I think the Bills are I didn't know Ken Dorsey was their offensive coordinator. I think it's kind of funny. But they it seems like they're a little struggling about, I don't think they're running the ball enough. I think they're putting too much pressure on Josh Allen. He shouldn't be throwing the ball 60 something times. Josh is great, but that's a lot of times to throw the football. You can run the ball. You got running backs. You should be running the ball more. I think they will. I think they'll be a little more balanced. It doesn't really matter against the Steelers because Watt's hurt. I think Pickett's got talent. It's just, they're going up against a buzz. So I know Buffalo's got injuries, their defense is hurt, but I still think they're gonna roll the Steelers by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think there's a big consensus there. Let's see. Chargers at Cleveland. Derek, what do you got?
Well, I haven't been impressed with the Browns, and I think I've picked against them almost every week. And I'm picking them against them again. I think the Chargers, I mean, they're only a 2.5 point favorite, but I think they're miles ahead of the Browns. So yeah, I'm just going the Chargers.
Yeah.
Sad. Hopefully Browns prove me wrong, but
Wes?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm picking the Chargers for the fact that, Brissett doesn't really give them much of a passing game. I mean, we've had 4 weeks already. He has 4 touchdowns, so he's averaging 1 touchdown a game. So they can run the ball, but I think everyone realizes this is in 1980. It's like you got to be able to throw the football in this league, and they got to score more points, and they just can't. And I think you go up against a defense like the Chargers. I think they don't have much of a chance to score points this week, and I think the Chargers win by about 10 points.
Yeah, I agree. I got the Chargers winning by 10. Like you said, you got to do more than just run the ball to beat a team like the Chargers. So they're just not going to score enough points, I don't think. Cleveland can play better if Brissett, would throw the ball, or maybe they're not allowing him to do it. They got to mix up their offense a little bit more. They have some good talent on their team. They got a good tight end. They got, Mark Cooper. They got Donovan Peoples-Jones. They got good players out there. It's just, you got to mix it up. You can't just, script that. Well, it's like, you're going to see Chubb 30 times a game. It's like, and then if it's not him, you got, Kareem Hunt another 10, 15 times.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I just don't know. I agree. So Chargers there by 10. Let's see. So Wes, lead us off. Chicago at Minnesota.
Wow. I'm going with Minnesota, just because the Bears just don't. They seem like they lack confidence in opening the offense up. I know we talked about last week, like how many attempts are they going to throw the football? So Justin Fields, they just seem like they're trying to figure out what they want to do with Justin Fields, and I just think they're overthinking it. So you go up against a team like Minnesota. Minnesota's, I mean, talk about squeaking out a win last week. It annoys me because Kirk Cousins is on my freaking fantasy team, and it seems like he just doesn't do anything for me. I mean, look at those weapons he has.
Right.
I mean, Steve, if you had those weapons, how many touchdown passes would you have a week? I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, he's got some nice weapons. I mean, that play at Justin Jefferson, I mean, I was like, when he hit that pass to Jefferson at the end of the game, that, it's like, why can't you do that all the time? It's Justin Jefferson. You got Thielen,
And they got Cook, I mean, you got.
And when Dalvin Cook is right, that is one of the best running backs in the league.
Oh yeah, I agree.
It's just when he runs the ball and you see him in open space, when he gets open, it's like, whoa, he
runs with power too, and I like that about him. The thing here is, I'd love to say the Bears have a chance at winning this game, and I hope they win, honestly. But you're in Minnesota. The problem is the Minnesota can score and the Bears can't, and that's not a good resume to bring into a football game. It's like, hey, we can't score the ball. We can't score points.
Well, same thing. It's the Browns. The same Browns problem. It's like, oh yeah, it's like we're just gonna play good defense and run the ball. It's like, well, the Bears can't even run the ball. I mean,
what can the Bears do? They can't play good defense.
Can they punt the ball? Yeah, they can punt the ball.
They're really good on special teams and
they're really good, solid on special teams.
But they play with a lot of heart, so they've won some games. And it's not that they can't win games. It's that what you said about confidence, not just from the players, it's from the coaches. It's in the ability to open up the offense. It's just the ability to go out there and play a game versus like, it looks like they're just playing not to lose instead of trying to win the game. And it's like every game they're playing not to lose. It's like, if you guys would, apply yourselves a little bit and try to win this game, maybe you would, but they just don't. And with the firepower Minnesota has, I got Minnesota by a touchdown.
Yeah, we're kind of all in agreement. It's hard to, the issue with the Bears is I don't know I think Eberflus is a good coach. The problem is they didn't need him.
Yeah.
They needed an offensive coach.
Right.
And so he's coaching as he's not helping. He's trying to win games, which is good, but he's not helping any development of his quarterback, which is bad since you gave up 2 first-round picks for that guy.
Right.
I felt like this should be a development year and have good draft picks next year, and then next year be the year. But it's hard to go against the Vikings at home. The Bears need games in the elements to win.
Okay. Well, luckily they're playing in Chicago. Well, no, that's where their home field is. I mean,
right? Yeah.
So you get
until
a lot
they
of
go
those
to
late
that
in the season.
the dome stadium.
Yeah. They do have that advantage, but yeah. So I think we're all in agreement there. This one I think will be a good game and a hard one to pick. So Detroit at New England. I think we may or may not agree on this one because I know what I think Derek's going to pick, but I'm taking New England at home by a field goal just because I don't think Detroit's great yet, and I think both teams kind of suck. I think Detroit definitely has probably a better offense, but New England showed that they can play against Green Bay last week, and they've been fairly close in most of their games, and they've won some games. So it's kind of a toss-up game for me, and I'm taking New England because they're at home.
Well, actually, it would have been different if I knew Swift and Brown are playing, but I don't think either of them are playing.
Well, Swift's definitely not, right? I don't think Brown might.
I think they're going to hold on because I think they have the bye next week.
Right.
So I'm going to go with the Patriots because
it's a painful pick for you.
Well, no, it's just, I mean, the Lions they put up a lot of points, but I don't know if they're going to do that in New England.
Right. And they're also playing Seattle. So, they put up a lot of points against Seattle. That's not a lot to hang your hat on. So, okay. Well, New England too. Wes, what do you got?
I got the Lions, and this was a hard pick. I mean, I everything says, they're playing, the Patriots playing home, but I think Jared Goff, I mean, look what he did last week. I mean, leading fantasy points. I was like, Jared Goff? Like, are you kidding me? What's going on here? But not just that. I think they don't lose much with Jamal Williams, and Jamal is playing well. And I think it's going to throw everybody off about their running game. I think it'll throw the Patriots off enough to barely win, but it's going to be close. I mean, the Patriots lack confidence on both sides of the ball. I don't think they're very good. And so, even though Detroit's playing on the road and they're notorious for playing terrible on the road, I think they squeak out a win.
Nice. Well, I mean, it's another swing game for Wes. Like he's got ground to make up, so you gotta take those chances. That'll be good. You got two games you can make up right there. Okay, what we got next? We got Seattle at New Orleans. So Derek.
Well, this one was a tough one because I don't want to pick the Seahawks, but I have to pick the Seahawks because I mean the Red Rider is going to be probably a quarterback again. And Michael Thomas is probably not going to play again. And I don't.
Did you see the Red Rider?
Yeah, that's Andy Dalton, man.
I thought it was like Red Lightning or something like that. The Red Rider. That's awesome.
Andy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how healthy Kamara is going to be. So I know it's on the road, and the Seahawks, even when they were good, always played poorly on the road, but gotta give it to Geno, man, right? What? Geno Smith.
Geno Smith. All right. I mean,
Seattle Andy Dalton's the Red Rocket.
The Red Rocket.
The Red Rocket.
What do you got, Wes?
Well, after that, I mean, shoot, I didn't. No, I agree. I can't. It's just the Seahawks. Yes, they're not very. They're notorious for being bad on the road, but they did put up 48 points against the Lions, even though it was the Lions. The Saints aren't playing very well on both sides of the ball. And if Winston isn't right, and you do have Andy Dalton playing quarterback, I mean, first play of the London game, everyone's Andy Dalton's not that bad. First play, threw a 3-yard pass. It was like that the whole game. That's how much confidence they have in Andy Dalton. Get the ball down the field that way, right? It's just like they dink and dunk, and just like Russell Wilson. It's like this isn't the 1990s. You got to throw the ball down the field. There are opportunities. There's plays to be made, and you got to be willing to get the ball and take some chances. And the Seahawks seem willing to do that, and they have the weapons. Lockett, DK Metcalf. I think they're going to make more plays than the Saints. I think it's going to be close, but I'm giving the edge to the Seahawks. They win by 4.
Yeah, this was one of the tougher games to pick. And as much as I wanted to pick the Seahawks, I just can't, because it's in New Orleans. And yeah, I am one of the people who's going to say Andy Dalton isn't that bad. Because he obviously
There's Homer.
That was his first game, but they could have won that game against Minnesota, and Minnesota's a much better team than Seattle. If Kamara comes back and plays, that's helpful, but still, you add in guys like Taysom Hill, and now Latavius Murray played a good game, and he's gonna have a good game again, even if Kamara's not in.
Latavius Murray is on Denver now.
Well, I thought Murray was in a New Orleans game.
He was on the practice squad though, and then Denver poached him.
Oh, really? So
yeah,
okay, but he played last week.
Yeah.
So
bizarre. That's bizarre.
Either way, Seattle's defense has a lot of holes. Is the issue. So that's what I mean. It doesn't matter who's back there for New Orleans. That they're gonna score points, and their defense, even though it hasn't played as good as it should, it's not terrible, and Seattle's just not as good as like they looked last week as far as points. They're not going to put up 48 points on New Orleans. So I think New Orleans wins in a close game, but I'm going to take New Orleans. And that sucks that they stole their backup running back.
Yeah.
It's messed up.
You should have kept them on the practice squad. They'll start stealing them.
Yeah, that's crazy. Let's see. How about what's next? Miami at the Jets. Wes, what do you got?
This is a tough game for me. It's hard. I want to pick the Dolphins, but their defense their secondary is porous, and I think it's gonna hurt them against the Jets. I think Zach Wilson's gonna have a pretty good game. I think Wilson, he's gonna get the ball downfield. I think Bridgewater will have a decent game. I don't think it's gonna be enough. I'm gonna take the Jets.
Yeah, that's tough. The problem is, you don't know if Xavier Howard's playing yet, which is a big part of their secondary. And so that does pose problems for Miami as far as stopping, the Jets, who are looking better with Davis and Wilson. Receivers are coming around. And then, of course, Wilson back at quarterback as well. So I'd like to pick the Jets here, but in Miami,
it's in New York.
Oh, is it in New York?
Yep. That was a factor too.
No, I'm still taking Miami. The reason I'm taking Miami is because I think they outscore them. So even in New York, I still think Miami's going to outscore them. So I'm going with Miami.
Like Wes was saying, this was one of the games I was like having to think about because Waddle is also banged up. So that's an interesting one.
Right.
But I kind of feel like watching them play their last game and Tua getting hurt, it was kind of a weird situation for Bridgewater to come in. But I noticed they kind of figured out, even though they lost the game, they figured out their running game. And I think it's Mozart. He took over for Edmonds pretty much. So I think that's going to be the key to the Dolphins winning is they're going to actually be a more balanced team because they haven't been that balanced this whole year. And that's why I'm going to give the edge to the Dolphins. Jets are not there yet. They're another week away.
They're close, and I agree that I actually liked the way their offense looked with Bridgewater. It's sad, of course, what happened with Tua, but I think Bridgewater ran that offense really well. I think he's got a good arm, and he really sees the field a little better than Tua does, which is a good advantage. But the Waddle, like being healthy, is a big difference maker too. But you still have Gesicki and Tyreek Hill, which is a pretty lethal combo.
And then what was it? Sheffield, or was that his name? Their third receiver. He was looking.
He came up pretty big. Yeah, he had some big catches too in that game. So Wes, another swing game. Man, all kinds of swing games coming out for Wes. Let's see, Atlanta at Tampa. Let's see, I lead here. So, man, I got to take Tampa here because it's at Tampa, right? And the thing with Atlanta is, yeah, you're hurting now without Cordell Patterson. He's on IR, right? So I don't know that he's coming back till November something, possibly. And I think that really hurts Atlanta's overall, offense. So I really think that Tampa Bay bounces back here and really hammers Atlanta in a big win by a couple touchdowns.
Well, here's one where we're gonna see the Bucks mentally, because I kind of feel like against the Chiefs, they were all thinking about the hurricane, naturally so, because it was in their home area. But this one was one I want to be interested to see if Tom Brady is his mind right. He's got all sorts of personal stuff going on right now. And Wes brought it up like a few weeks ago, but it's actually coming to light now that it's true. So that's a hard thing to go through in the middle of the season. Yeah. But I'm still taking the Bucks because, like, without Patterson, they're still not getting Pitts involved. So this is the game to see. This is my litmus test for the Bucks to see if they're going to be right as rain, or is it going to be an issue this year?
Yeah, it's Tom Brady. I mean, you'd like to think he's a consummate professional, like he can work through it,
but
it's hard for anybody. Yeah. So
it's got to be brutal.
It's going to be a tough test.
He's just getting it. It's got to be tough.
Did you see that Antonio Brown posted a picture of him with his arm around Giselle?
No, I didn't see that. I mean, shocker. It's just unbelievable, dude.
Bro. What do you got, Wes?
It's always a CFL for him. or the XFL. Yeah, I'm going with the Bucks just because Patterson's hurt. And I think that really hurts them because Patterson's so dynamic. I mean, he opens up the offense so much for a team. I think the Bucks. I don't think the Bucks are going to play that well, but I think they'll win by 10 points.
Yeah, I think there's a consensus among us on that game. Tennessee at Washington. Derek, what do you got?
Titans. I don't have any confidence in the Commanders, so Titans are by 2.5. I think they're just finding a way, and they're probably going to end up winning the division. And, and they're going to get the running game going. Derrick Henry is going to have a monster game. So, yeah, I got the Titans.
Yeah.
Wes, you agree?
Yeah, even though the matchup predictor predicts Washington at 60%, it's just stupid. Like, really? Like, what's
at home?
I know they're at home, but Dotson isn't playing. He's on IR. And I think that hurts. That Dotson, I would actually consider actually having some confidence in Carson Wentz. I have 0 at this point because it's Carson Wentz. And even though it's Wentz against Tannehill, you have 2 quarterbacks that, I mean, if there's a confidence rating in Madden, adding them together would be like 60 because they both don't have any confidence. But Tennessee has Derrick Henry, and they're better coached, and they got a better defense. I think they squeak it out. I don't think it's going to be I think it's going to be a close game. I'd say they win by 2.
Yeah, I got Tennessee in a close game by a field goal, so they'll probably cover. The thing is Derrick Henry is starting to look like Derrick Henry a little bit, and that's not good for other teams when Derrick Henry starts running like Derrick Henry can. And the Commanders don't have that enough to stop a guy like him, considering, how Tennessee likes to use him. So I don't think the Commanders will play as very poorly to get blown out, but I think Tennessee wins in a close game.
I think the Commanders play hard. I don't think they did get beat pretty bad. I mean, they get beat by 15 by the Cowboys, but right. But the Cowboys defense is good. It's going to be hard to be scoring them.
So we got Tennessee taking that one. Let's see. Jacksonville. Let's see who they. Oh, Houston at Jacksonville.
Houston again. Thanks.
Wes, what do you got?
A tie.
A tie. Wes is calling the tie.
Don't make me cry. Okay. Texans. I'm taking Jacksonville here, but it's kind of funny to me because they're the only team that hasn't won a game. I think the Texans. So, but
they have a tie.
They got a tie.
You remember?
Yeah, I mean, just the Texans aren't very good, and the Jaguars are playing good, playing at home. Even though the NFL wants the Jaguars to play in London, I think they'll get the home field advantage. I think they'll win by 13.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll win that. Houston plays better than their record for sure, but Jacksonville is playing better than Houston right now. So I got to take Jacksonville, especially at home, on a touchdown at least. So I'm on the Jacksonville bandwagon there.
This is the ultimate trap game here because you're the Jaguars, you're young, you're full, you're like, we're playing really well, and we're going up against the Texans.
Right.
We're at home. But I still can't take the Texans over the Jaguars. I think their defense is playing really well. Trevor Lawrence is coming into his own. And this will be a real test. I think this is the Doug Peterson coaching them up, telling them, hey, we can't take this game lightly.
Yeah, can't have a letdown.
Right.
Yeah, consensus there. Jacksonville. Let's see. San Francisco at Carolina. What do you got, Derek?
Oh, you're starting me off with all the easy ones.
Wait. Oh, this is me, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is me on this one. So San Francisco at Carolina. I don't think there's any question in my mind that San Francisco wins this game. Considering, you got to play like you did the other night, but I think their defense is capable of doing that every time out. And they're going to murder. Like, they might actually kill Baker Mayfield. He might die. So
that's what I was about to say.
I just don't see. I just don't know how Carolina. Christian McCaffrey probably gets hurt in this game. Baker Mayfield dies, and Carolina doesn't score a touchdown. So I think San Francisco in at least a 10-point win.
Yeah.
This is the game where it cements Baker Mayfield for Wes never being on TV again for commercials. This is it. He's done. No more commercials for Baker Mayfield because he's not done anything in this league and he got commercials. As Wes would say, you can't have any commercials as a quarterback until you win a Super Bowl.
Or be good. Yeah. You got to be kind of good too.
I was going to say, because Trevor Lawrence is doing commercials now.
You know what he is. I was a little upset about that first, but I was like, you know what? I'll tip my hat to him, dude. Okay, you could do a commercial. Gatorade's fine.
It's because he has long hair.
He's Fabio.
Fabio. So what do you got Derek?
Oh, I said Niners.
Oh, Niners. Wes, what do you got?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, Bosa versus Baker. I can't wait because I love Bosa in the press conference when he talked about the defense. He's like, tell us that we're not the best defense in the NFL. I think they're going to prove it, and I think they're going to, what is that line in Rocky 3 when Mr. T is like, pain. I predict pain for Baker.
Yeah, and it's not that Carolina doesn't have talent on their team, because they do. They've got talented receivers and a running back, one of the better in the league. Their defense lacks, their defense isn't super strong, but they're not the worst. So it's just the issue is San Francisco's defense just looks so good right now.
This might be Matt Rule's last game coaching too.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Dallas at the Rams. Derek, what do you got?
I hate this with all my passion. But the Rams don't look good right now. And their offensive line is in shambles. I just feel like this is a game where Micah Parsons is going to disrupt a bunch. Cooper Rush is not Dak Prescott, but when he plays, it seems like they have figured out a way to move the ball. And the Rams are favored by 5.5. I still think the Cowboys will win.
Wow.
Cowboys.
Picking
the Cowboys. That's crazy.
I know. I'll take. Yeah. That's I agree with Derek. I gotta take the Cowboys too, because it's just, you watch that game and it's like he's just locked in on Cooper Kupp, and Dallas's defense is not as good as the Niners, but Micah Parsons is an animal. And so I think he's going to get after Stafford. I think Stafford, there's something wrong. Either it's his elbow or it's the dumb commercials he does, like the Little Caesars commercial.
He's got a Super Bowl. Really? He's got a Super Bowl now. He can do commercials.
I know. But you know what? You got to be selective about the commercials, man. You know what? But I'm okay with it because you know what? He doesn't take himself seriously. But you're going to have to take yourself seriously because he's under duress. They're not protecting him. No Odell Beckham. It's all Cooper, it's all Cooper Kupp. And I just think that the Cowboys offensively, they got enough. I think it's to be a close game, but Cowboys win by about 6.
Yeah, this is a really tough game, right? To pick, because how much do you trust the Cowboys, and then at the same time, it's like the Rams don't look so good. And then, so really, I think this comes down to playing at home for the Rams. So I'm actually going to go opposite of you guys. I'm going to go with the Rams. And it's not because of a single player on the field. It's because Sean McVay. He's going to not only get them ready for this game, he's going to scheme better in this game, and he is going to, on his own accord and will, win this game. So I'm going to go with the Rams in this one.
But the only thing, just all the noise about Dak Prescott playing in this game. I love it. It's like, well, he might play, but he can't really hold on to the ball. Well, isn't that the number one job as a quarterback to be able to hold on to the ball? It's just so stupid. I mean, Cooper Rush is playing. He's solid. He's playing solid. But you know what? Dak's in like 5 commercials, so we better get him out. Even though he's not, he's not. It's like we got to get him out there. He's the face. He's the face of the NFL now.
I'm not a Dak Prescott fan. I think they're better with Cooper Rush, but I just don't think they win this game. But yeah, you're paying Dak millions. You're paying him so much money is that they're gonna obviously bring him back when he's healthy. But
he's 150 million. I mean, you're gonna have to.
I like Dallas. I like Dallas better with Cooper Rush. I think he plays within his own game. He reads the field better. He finds open receivers better. He may not be
he's not scared
athletic and those kind of things. So, but
he doesn't play with fear.
I'm still taking the Rams. Let's see. So next game is who we got here. Schedule.
Eagles, Cardinals.
Yeah, we got Philadelphia at Arizona. So Wes, what do you
got? Eagles, just because they're playing well. I think it's gonna be a close game, but I just think Eagles are solid on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts has proven me wrong. His development, he's playing really well. I'm not gonna say that he's second tier like some of these people on ESPN. Oh, he's second. No, it's early. First tier. Yeah, first tier or whatever. I mean, let's just take it down a couple notches. But yeah, he's playing good, and the team's playing good. I think they win. I think it's gonna be a close game. I think it's gonna be a higher scoring game, 38-35.
Yeah, so this I think could be a letdown game for Philadelphia. I think you're undefeated at this point. You're going into Arizona. Arizona needs to win, or wants to win really bad. They're playing better. They're getting better as they come along. I still think Philadelphia edges out a win here in a close game. So I'm going to take Philadelphia, but I think this is a dangerous game for Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. What a surprise. You give a young quarterback 2 great wide receivers, a great tight end, and a great running back, and he starts doing well. Sorry, Steve, but take note, Chicago. Maybe this is what you would have done with Fields. Because if you put Fields on this team, they're probably close to the same right now.
Right.
So yeah, I'm taking the Eagles. This is kind of a trap game because there is going from Philly all the way to Arizona. So that's kind of interesting. And Kyler Murray has lots of talent also. And he's probably looking at it as like, well, you're going to take, everyone's talking about this short quarterback that can run. What about me?
What about me?
But I just don't think they're the same without DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. So I feel like if they tread water, go 3-3, and then Hopkins comes back, that's when they start making some noise.
Yeah.
But I can't really go against the Eagles.
It's tough. But again, I think it's a trap game. But I think we're all in consensus there.
We're all getting trapped.
We're getting trapped.
Yeah, we're all going to be.
We're Admiral Akbar.
Yeah. So
it's a trap.
Here you go with I think the games of the week in the last 2 games. So the first one, Sunday night game, Cincinnati at Baltimore. This one I had a real hard time with. I ended up with Cincinnati, even though it's at Baltimore, because Baltimore, for some reason, doesn't play very well at home. And I think Cincinnati has turned a little bit in their season to where it's like, hey, we can't go to the Super Bowl then suck. That's not us. They have too much confidence. They're too young. Like their guys are too confident in their games, talking about Burrow and Chase and Higgins. So Baltimore, I think this is their last loss before they kick up into high gear. And so I'm going to take Cincinnati in this game by a touchdown. What do you got, Derek?
So, amazing facts. The Baltimore Ravens, in their 2 losses, have trailed for a total of 25 seconds.
That's horrible.
Their 2 losses were to the Dolphins and to the Bills. I don't think the Bengals are right yet. I still think Joe Burrow is still feeling effects. Plus, I picked the Ravens to win the division, so they have to win this game.
They have to win this game.
So, and you two took the Bengals,
so they have to win this game.
Yeah, I got the Ravens at home.
Yeah. Wes, what do you got?
That's just I've gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. You know, Lamar Jackson's averaging 10 yards a rush. He's a freaking quarterback, dude.
Yeah.
10 yards a rush. And I'm like, how can I not pick the Ravens? But I'm going to pick the Bengals just because. The Ravens secondary, like I said last week, it's like Dan Marino playing them every week. And Joe Burrow, I mean, these other quarterbacks are not Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, I think he exposes them. I think Jamar Chase gets back on track. He hasn't been, he's not. I mean, he's just not putting up the stats that I like because he's on my freaking team too. And he's not putting up stats. And I'm getting killed by Steve like by 70 points. So let's go, Jamar. Yeah. Big game. I'm taking the Bengals by 10.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think it's gonna be a great game. But I think Derek said it best. Like, we need Cincinnati to win. He needs Baltimore to win because this is kind of a season definer for them. I know there's a lot of season left, but it is a big game for both teams. So, and then the other game of the week here is the Vegas at Kansas City. So, Derek, what do you got?
I was thinking about picking the Chiefs here. But
you couldn't do it.
No, well, because then I started realizing, okay, so the Chiefs looked out otherworldly against the Buccaneers. Patrick Graham has actually had really good success against the Chiefs when he was with the Giants. I think the Raiders have figured it out. Give the ball to Jacobs. And that's one of the ways you beat the Chiefs, time of possession.
Right.
You keep the ball. You don't let them score in 2 minutes, like 2 seconds. The Raiders need this game to get back in the division.
The season.
Yeah. I mean, they started out 0-3. I still believe that they're a 10-7 team. So they need this one to win this one and go into the bye, because then it gets a little easier after this. So
right.
I know Wes is Mr. Doom and Gloom about the Raiders, but I think they'll actually. I kind of feel like since the preseason is what kind of new offense preseason, I liked how they ran no huddle. It will keep the Chiefs. The Chiefs still don't have a good defense, so I got the Raiders by like 3.
Wes, what do you got?
I'm not doom and gloom about the Raiders. I'm just a realist about their performance is subpar. But I agree with Derek about Josh Jacobs. I mean, he's playing well. I think that's gonna open up the offense. I think Adams is gonna have a big game. And I think Crosby's going to get after Mahomes. I think Crosby's going to have it. I think he's going to energize the defense. And I'm picking the Raiders too. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard for me to pick them after what I saw last week because you're playing the Broncos and you can't even freaking throw a touchdown. But they won because
they did win.
Yeah, it's a win
against one of the best. If you listen to Kevin Harlan the whole game,
ever.
The defense, the Broncos defense, greatest ever. They hadn't given up 100-yard rusher or 100-yard receiver all season, and they did both in one game.
Yeah, this was probably the hardest game of the week for me to pick because I was, you weighing things like they're in Kansas City, first of all, right? So that sucks for the Raiders. Kansas City's coming off a huge win against Tampa Bay where they scored 40 points against a really good defense, and one of the best in the league, as far as personnel. So the issue is can the Raiders go into Kansas City? Can they stop the offense? Can they score enough points to win the game? Right. Josh Jacobs looked energized running the ball last week. He was a man on fire. He was a little pinball bouncing out back and forth. So if he runs the ball well, that's what really opens up their offense. And I think Waller has his first big game of the season. And I am going to take the Raiders by a field goal. Close game, come down the end. I think it's going to be a little higher scoring. It won't be crazy like Tampa and Kansas City, but it'll be a little higher scoring. Raiders are going to have to score. That was my issue I had is will the Raiders put together their red zone offense? And that's an issue for me to pick them. But I think they kind of may have figured out, hey, why don't we just hand the ball to Josh Jacobs when we get in the red zone? Maybe that'll work. Huh?
Yeah. What a concept. Run the ball in the red zone.
Yeah. So.
And Hunter Renfrow will be back also.
Right.
So in the red zone, how are you going to guard Adams, Waller, and Renfrow? You can't double team all three of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I've picked Kansas City every game this year so far. And so it's the first time picking against them. And so I hope the Raiders prove us right.
Well, it's the thing about it is I just think of the Colts game is, yes, it's Patrick Mahomes. But I still think there's a deficiency because he can utilize all his weapons, but his weapons aren't that great. And so I think, you can contain them to a certain extent if you play them right.
Well, it's going to come down to the Raiders defense. They have to play good defense. They have to do exactly what Derek said, is keep everybody in front of them. You got to double team Kelsey or box him in on your zones. You got to make sure that he doesn't kill you because he can. By himself. So that's tough. But yeah, they definitely have a good chance to win this game. I still think they're in a must-win situation. So that always helps me when I'm picking teams, because you don't want your season to be over in week 5.
Right.
So.
Well, and then the other on the personal issue, Max Crosby's wife is pregnant and she's due to give birth any day. So that might be an issue. If good for him to be giving birth, but might be on Monday night. Who knows? They might want to be getting induced soon.
Yeah. Well, and that's motivation. Crosby looked great last week.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked really good. So he's playing up to his potential right
I think he'll get up for the Chiefs though.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna.
Well, I'm just saying if he'll be there.
Yeah, right.
Oh shoot! I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Yeah, he'll be there. He better be there. My kid gets birthed all the time.
My kid can wait.
Put it on FaceTime. There you go. He's coming out. He's done.
Yeah, we'll see. Either way, I think the Raiders have a good chance. So we'll see what happens. So it might go against me not picking KC here because I know you guys both.
I didn't think about that there.
You both thought I was going to pick KC, I'm sure.
Well, the only a sane person would have picked KC, but
right.
Yeah, we're just
So that's our pick. So we're coming off that big week last week. 13-3 for Derek. I went 13-3 for me. 11-5 for Wes. That puts me at 40-24. Derek, you're at 35-29. Wes, what's your overall right now?
No, I just hide. That's what I do.
Add it up and send it to me so I can put it in the comments for everybody to read.
Well, it was 30-18, so 11. It's close to 500 now because I had a good week. So
you mean 18-30?
29. It's 29-34.
29-34.
Yeah, so I'm getting there.
So, just real quick, let's just fantasy football update. I know we're getting late on time here, but Derek and Big Mike in the battle of the undefeateds. Big Mike, he texts me and he's like, I'm a Nancy Kerrigan him.
Well, he kind of did.
He took out your
half of my team got injured.
Right.
So
so Big Mike now becomes the only undefeated team in the HSC podcast. With a decent game. Like Derek, you scored a lot less points than you've been scoring, so that helped.
Well, when Brown was out, and then during games, Taylor and Patterson get hurt.
Right. So that was
I still rough. Put up over 100, but
that was a rough loss, and Big Mike's happy about it. He's excited for his first year of fantasy football.
It's okay. He can be Aaron Rodgers. I'll be Tom Brady. It's fine.
Right. It's all about winning the championship, right?
Yep. And I got a get back game because I got Wes this week. So.
Oh, come on.
So if Wes would change his team
I'm retooling my team.
Dude,
retooling.
Change your lineup, dude. You got J.K. Dobbins on the bench. Come on, man.
Well,
you're
he can wait another week.
Yeah, I mean,
you got you got Breece Hall and the Jets sharing time with the guy you're starting at running back. You got J.K. Dobbins scoring 30 points.
So I didn't.
Yeah.
I will say I was so happy. I was perusing the waiver wire, and I noticed someone had released Mike Evans.
Someone released Mike Evans?
Yeah.
He's hurt.
And so I picked him up.
Oh. Well, because he was suspended for a game.
Yeah, but it was for one game. It's
for one game. Somebody in our league did that. I don't know who.
You got Mike Evans now?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, he's got
I think it was Holly's dad.
Oh.
I was like, sweet, I'll take Mike Evans. He put up good points. I mean,
yeah, no, Mike Evans is a great pickup.
Now once Amon gets back.
Well, he's 3-1. I'm 3-1 in the other division. So we're tied for the lead in that division. And then you got Big Mike at 4-0 and you at 3-1 in your guys' division. Couple big games coming. Like, Wes, you got to win this game, man. It's now or
my
never.
team sucks.
It's now or never.
I mean, I'm going to start Tom. I might as well start that Tom Brady guy,
Yeah, he's all right.
I'll start the best ever.
Yeah. So so players people should be looking at. I know Wilson for the 49ers got picked up in most leagues, but I think that was a good pickup for people. So Wilson's a good one to look at. But who's replacing Cordell Patterson? I think you got to look there.
Tyler Algier.
Yeah, I mean, so he's gonna get the ball, right? I mean, they're still a running team to a certain sense. Any other injuries that affected?
Let's pick up Himes if he's available.
Yeah, so Naheem Himes is out there. I know he's on a team in our league, but he might be a person to start, right, or a flex play.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I'd probably put Himes in at the flex right now if I had him. Of course, I'm not. Well, I got Miles Sanders at the flex, so I don't know.
I got so many running backs to choose here. What should I start against Wes? I don't know.
Anybody?
Well, that's the problem. Is
points.
It was last week. I had Damon Pierce on the bench, but then I had two running backs get hurt, so now he's in.
Well, the thing is, I got Dobbins and I got Singletary, but Singletary seems like he doesn't get the ball. And so Dobbins had a good week, so I should probably start him, bench Hall.
Yeah, you got a decent team. Like it's just making the right adjustments, and nobody knows.
Yeah, you have Carter. You have Carter, not Hall.
Carter. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, you have Carter in. That's why I was like, that's why Dobbins should be playing there. So overall,
I mean, with Keenan Allen being hurt has been hurting.
Yeah. Right. And Keenan Allen, is he healthy this week? He's back, right? I thought he might be playing this week. So overall, fantasy this year has been, and not even just in our league, but just around the leagues. It's been up and down. A lot of different players scoring a lot of points. you're seeing points come from different places. You do see that, like, and I've noticed this on my teams, like the consistency still you do get out of these running backs. Like Saquon Barkley's been great for me. Henry is, finally had a good game. Miles Sanders, though, has been a really nice flex, running back for me. So Jonathan Taylor, though, that sucked.
Well, and I told you this at the beginning. I hate drafting one because look at you. You were able to get Saquon Barkley and Henry.
Yeah.
Or I got Jonathan Taylor, then I had to wait until like 19 picks until I could pick again.
Right.
So that's always a tough, because then you put all your eggs in one basket that they're going to be, but you can't not take Jonathan Taylor, right? I mean,
you have to take him. There's, you're just, if you don't take him, and then it's just dumb.
Right.
I wish honestly I would have just, instead of for Anthony, I wish I would have taken Lamar Jackson.
You should have just taken Anthony's team.
Yeah,
I know. Well, I'm trying to help Anthony. I was with Anthony when we drafted the team, and I was like, okay, I'm going to make your team awesome. But I was more concerned about his team than anybody else's team.
Yeah.
So now I'm rooting for his team
because he's putting up points.
Yeah, he's putting up points. He lost by 3.
Yeah, he's 2-2.
Yeah,
I think he's got a big game this week.
Does he have Mike
for standings? No, I don't.
Oh yes, he has Mike.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yes, because what I was looking at, like, if somehow Derek, if you lose to Wes and Big Mike beats Anthony, like, it gets him out to a big lead.
Yeah, doesn't matter about winning a division.
As long as you make the playoffs, right?
But don't worry, I'm not losing to Wes.
Wes has a decent team. I think you could be surprised. So big
I'm not.
plays.
You know what?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm not going to start running the ball in the second half. It's just going to be pedal down.
Yeah.
It's just going to be over. I'm not letting anyone back in. Nick Saban.
So any big players, I was kind of looking at some of these games. I think there's some players out there. You look at some of these games, like Tyreek Hill will probably have a big game. People are obviously restarting him.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen definitely has a big game. Let's see. Deebo Samuel probably has a good game again. Let's see who else. Oh, Christian Kirk, I think would be a good play this week. I think Christian Kirk has a good, if you haven't put him in the flex at least. He's playing Houston, and he's been solid this year. Terry McLaurin might be back because without Dotson, he's going to be a primary target.
Wes, I don't know. You might want to put in Etienne.
Yeah.
Well,
Etienne.
Yeah. Well,
no, he's got another good running back though, doesn't he? He's got one good.
Yeah, he's got James Robinson, so he's probably sharing. So you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
He's going to be too sporadic.
Yeah.
If you put Dobbins in.
Yeah.
Dobbins with Mixon.
Who else?
We'll see if Mixon does. He's averaging like 3 yards a carry. Mixon this year. So nothing there. Chase, nothing. Kirk Cousins is being the old Kirk Cousins in a sense.
Well, he's playing a 10 o'clock game, so no one's going to be watching it. So he might have a really big game.
Oh, yeah. So when I bench him for Brady, he's going to come and throw 4 touchdowns, right? Against the Bears, right?
Well, I told you, Brady's got, other stuff on his mind right now.
Oh, jeez. Of course he does. Imagine that courtroom. Ooh, ugly.
Well, here's the thing. It's funny is she has more money than him. So it's not about that.
It's just, she just wants to. You can just tell, like,
I kind of feel like he reneged on her, and it was all like, we're going to do this. This is our plan. Right. And he's like, okay. And then he's like, no, I'm going to go back and play. Right. And she's like, F this then.
Yeah, you promised family time. Yeah, you're sticking me at home with the kids again while you're on the road being Tom Brady.
And she's like, I'm like worth $1 billion. We're a supermodel. So
Yeah.
come on, dude.
We'll see. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what happens with him on that. It's definitely a challenge for anybody.
Do you think it's his last year? I think it's his last year.
Oh yeah.
It's gotta be.
He should have just retired and not came back this year. I kind of feel like whenever you retire and then come back, it's never good.
He should have retired after he went to Tampa, won the Super Bowl. He should have just retired. Shouldn't even played last year.
Pulled a John Elway. He should have just done that.
Yeah.
Went there, proved I could win a Super Bowl with another franchise. Stop giving it all the credit to Belichick. I'm gonna retire now. It's the greatest ever. Or he goes through a divorce, wins another Super Bowl this year, and he's like, "Look, now I'm super GOAT. I can do anything."
He's going to Miami, going down to Tampa, going to Miami Beach. He's living a life of single guy.
He's like, "I'm not on the Brady diet anymore. I'm drinking beers
again." And I think everyone forgets that he's going to run Fox Sports now. That Troy and Buck are gone. Yeah. Guess who's going to run Fox Sports now?
Yeah.
Come in.
Well, yeah, he's already got a deal set up.
$300 million.
Yeah. Nice.
Maybe Giselle's trying to get some of that before.
No.
I don't think she needs it. All right, well, we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like. If you're listening on podcast, or if you're listening on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we got them on all those. So make sure you comment, what you like, what you don't like, what you want to hear. I love to hear comments about our picks, or especially when we're wrong. Coming up at the end of the weekend, I hear a lot of comments, and let's see if we can get some comments about our mispredictions.
Our faith in the Raiders.
All right. So we'll wrap it up. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening, everybody.